What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Rappa releases tomorrow, and a lot of you are asking whether you should be summoning for her E1 or her S1, which one provides the most value, which one is going to provide the most damage. Well, this is the video is going to answer that question for you. In my previous Rappa video, I didn't have all the information because her kid got changed last minute, but thanks to the creator experience server, I was able to gather the information I needed to make this video. And when I say the creator experience server, I really just mean Wyatt, because like that's the only one that I watched. So he makes some really good Rappa videos. So if you want, go check out Wyatt's channel in the description below. Now that we have that out of the way, let me know if you enjoy this type of content by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, as always, we're going to discuss the baseline because that is where we're going to base off all of our damage calculations from. So in this setup, we are running Rappa on the Cavalry set with the Calpagni set. And in this one, we have two different types of baselines. For those of us who have at least one copy of this Lycon, I think it's called Crushing Falls, Charmony Falls. For those of us who have one copy of the Charmony Falls Lycon, this is probably going to end up being your baseline because at any point it's better than the Herda Shop Lycon. Eternal Calculus, I think it's called. So if you have one copy of Charmony Falls, it's always going to be better than the Herda Shop Lycon. But if you don't have a single copy of this one, then obviously this one is your next best bet. Don't worry, I do have calculations for both of these Lycons, so just bear with me. First off, she has a really high base attack of 718. The base Lycon, this is for the 4-star Lycon, only provides 476 base stats. She gets 28% in traces. We're running an attack chest, attack orb. Speed boots, obviously, because she's a break character, you always want to run. The rope is always going to be break rope because obviously it's a break character. 352 from the hands. Subs, we can get 25% from subs, but you really don't need it. You have to reach 3200 attack. So I put 25% in subs. If you just shoot for 1%, for one attack percent sub in every relic that can have it, you should be able to gap out the 32%, the 3200 attack here. 0 in relic, 0 in planar, 0 in Lycon, so we don't have any attack sources from any of that. Her break effect sources are 13.3 from the trace, 26% from subs, which is probably one roll of break effect in every relic that can have it, which is 5 of them. The Lycon is the 5-star Lycon at S5 because that's the one I have, but I'm going to give you calculations for all of them up to S1, so don't worry about that. Okay, relics, we have 52, and I'm guessing I left 52 because we're not using Calpagni after all. We are using the Talia Kingdom of Banditry because this gives you, I think, 36, I think. Yeah, it gives you 36, and this gives you 16, so that equals 52. So I apologize. It's not the Calpagni set we're running. We are running this set, but this set will give you an extra 40% break effect if the enemies are weak to fire. But since we can't guarantee that, I went with the Talia Kingdom of Banditry. But if you are going to reuse it with Firefly or something like that, then you can obviously run the Calpagni set, which gives you more speed and more break effect if you're running against a fire weak enemy. The buffs 140%. So I'm going to break this down. We have Ruan Mei, Harmony MC, one of them wearing the Watchmaker set, and also Rappa gives yourself another 30% break effect. That's where the 140% break effect comes from. And then the rope is 64.8%. Now the vulnerability from the trace stems off her attack. You need to get at least 3200 attack to get the vulnerability up to 10%. We obviously got 3210, which is pretty much almost exactly what we need. And we got the 10% from the vulnerability trace. If we were to bring this down to 0, you can notice that this goes back down to about 7%. So we need the 25% in subs to be able to max out the vulnerability from the trace. Now, as I said, we have Ruan Mei. That's why we have the 68% damage bonus here. Pretty insignificant because Rappa doesn't really do any crit damage or damage that is not from break pretty much at all. So that's irrelevant. We have 25% res pen from Ruan Mei. We have 15% from Gallagher because he's the other character we have on the team. And then down here, we have the 10% defense ignore from the Cavalry set on regular break. The other 15% is obviously on super break, which is why over here we have this defense multiplier at 53 and the defense multiplier over here it's 49. It's different because this one has an extra 15% because this is super break damage, which the Cavalry set gives you an extra 15% defense reduction on super break damage. Moving on, break efficiency increase. Rappa gives herself 50% break efficiency, and then the 50% break efficiency from Ruan Mei. That's where we have 100% break efficiency here. Now, I'm going to just skip over this whole thing. This is pretty much the breakdown of all of her damage. And this is the breakdown of all of her talent because she does stack. So her talent has 11 different ways of doing damage, ranging from 0 to 11. So I'm not going to go over all of this. If you want a breakdown of all of this, check out my previous Rappa video. We are more interested in the calculations for her Lycon. All right, let's start with the two free-to-play options. We have Charmony Falls S1 through S5. and then Eternal Calculus. I call this a free-to-play option, but it's not really free-to-play because a lot of you are not going to have this light cone, but is the best 4-star light cone, which is a little bit free-to-play of sorts. As you can notice, the Eternal Calculus at S5 is our baseline, which is why it's at 0%. And also, as you might notice, the S1 Charmony Falls is already 7% better than Eternal Calculus. The reason being is because Eternal Calculus is a regular DPS light cone. It gives you speed and it gives you attack. Charmony Falls gives you speed as well and also gives you break effect, which is why this is higher, obviously, because Rappa is a break character. Now, as you go further down, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, by the time you reach the S5, the S5 Charmony Falls ends up being about 13.8% better than Eternal Calculus. So even if you have one copy of Charmony Falls, it is better than just going for the Herta Shop light cone. I bought the Herta Shop light cone before I did these calculations because of the flat attack. But as it turns out, after I did the calculations, I was just like, okay, well, I just wasted my resources. Not really, because I was going to buy it anyway. But point being that any version of Charmony Falls is better than Eternal Calculus. Both of them give speed, so it's not really a big deal when it comes to the speed. It's just the overall damage is about 14% at S5 and 7% at S1. Now, when we bring in Rappa's S1, so her S1 gives you 60% break effect. It also gives you a little bit of energy when you first start the battle, which makes it easier for you to launch your first ultimate. And then as well as give you action advance every time you use your basic attack, which is pretty good because you can get away with not having as much speed. Now, the problem with this light cone is that, as you can notice, numbers wise is only 10% better, right? Because Charmony Falls also gives you speed. So if you can stack enough speed, you can kind of make up for the action advances, even though it's never going to be like outright better because action advances just forgo speed entirely. You could kind of get almost the same results by just running S5 Charmony Falls as opposed to Rappa S1. Now, the only area that the S1 is way better is in the energy department. It allows her to get into her ultimate state a lot quicker. But the thing is that Rappa doesn't need to be the one that breaks the enemy. So she can have the rest of the team break the enemy while she builds up the ultimate. And then by the time she has her ultimate, she can land the killing blow, which, I don't know, to me, her light cone just doesn't offer enough for me to personally want to get it if I already have Charmony Falls. That's just my opinion. Maybe you find a lot of value in it. I just don't find it myself. Now, when we bring in her E1, so her E1 with the Eternal Calculus ends up being about 10% better than the base, which is obviously less than the S1. But the reason for this is because neither her E1 or the light cone give Rappa break effect. Here, we're missing a bunch of break effect. We're literally missing about 50% break effect here, and that makes up the 5% difference. But if you look at the numbers themselves, you go from 215,000 to 226,000. That's 11,000 K difference. Here's 2,000 K difference. Here's 11,000 K difference, and here's like about 23,000 difference. But when you're doing 500 K damage, 23,000 damage is not that much. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me coping. Maybe I don't know. Maybe to me it's just I have some sort of problem with this S1. I just don't see it, you know. Now, moving on, if you have the E1 with the Charmony Falls, at any superimposition for Charmony Falls is already better than getting the S1 by itself. If you have any copy of Charmony Falls, then just go for the E1 if you are going to vertically invest in your Rappa. It is what it is. If you have it at S5, it's 25% better than just getting the S1 by itself. So get the E. If you have Charmony Falls and you want to invest in your Rappa, get the E1, don't get the S1. Now, the last one obviously is going to be the E1 S1, and this is going to be obviously the best, but as you can notice, it's only about 1% better, like not like exactly 1% better, which in my opinion makes her light cone, even though the design of the light cone is top tier, like I think this is one of the most beautiful light cones I've ever seen. It's not worth it in practice, in my opinion. In calculation, it's just not worth it because you can make up the action advance with speed. The light cone, the Charmony Falls light cone gives you a little bit of speed. You have Calpagni set that gives you a little bit of speed. So building speed on Rappa is actually very, very easy. You don't need the action advance per se. It's good. Like if you can afford it and you want to like hyper invest in Rappa, you want to squeeze out min max everything you can about Rappa, then obviously get the S1. And if you can afford it, obviously get it as well. But if you are trying to like choose between the E1 and the S1, which is the purpose of this video, then I think if you have a copy of Charmony Falls, you're getting the S1 is better. Even if you don't have a copy of Charmony Falls, you're only missing out at about what, 4%? No, yeah, you're missing out on about 4% damage. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like you go from, you're losing about 10k damage per hit, I guess, if you want to average it out. So it's not even a huge deal. So in my opinion, for people who are like fans of Rappa and really want to invest in Rappa, and but you don't have the budget for it, like just don't get the Lycone. Like the Lycone is not worth it. If you're a collector also, like this is a really beautiful Lycone. Like I love it. It's a really, really good Lycone, design wise. But in practicality, she just doesn't get enough from it. Also, another thing with the E1 being better than the S1 is that it kind of remediates her energy dependency. You know, the energy that you get from the Lycone? Well, in the E1, you get it every time you leave the ultimate, which is way better than just getting it one time at the beginning of the fight. And you also, on top of that, get 15% defense ignore, which is what makes her damage go crazy. Like this reaches 637,000 from the base of 500,000. You get 130,000 extra damage if you have this at S5 and then you have the E1. So it's really, really strong. Her E1 is really good, especially when compared to her S1. So, well, it's going to be the end of the video. This was kind of like a short one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Guys, check out Loot Bar. Use my link to buy Jades at a discounted price. Check it out in the link in the description below. Until next time, guys. See ya.